everybody. Welcome to Room 442. It's Albert Vartanian with the crew, James Sharman, Sarah Pariah, Mikey Singh. More World Cup talk today. This time we're going with Room 442's best World Cup 11. We started off talking about how we're going to put this team together. We were going with 4-3-3, and we talked about it. 4-3-3. That's not us, James.
We're 4-4-2,
We're
man.
4-4-2.
We're old school.
Hey, in attack, we can be whatever we want to be.
It's a fluid 4-4-2.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
4-4-2 becomes 4-3-3 really easily.
Yeah. So we decided to go with a 4-4-2 formation. Let's start with the goalkeeper. Emi Martinez makes the team Golden Glove. But I will say this, for me, I took him as well. Maybe not the best keeper, but that save, Sarah, in the World Cup on Kolo Muani, for me, gave him the spot.
Yeah, but also his saves he made in the penalties against the Dutch and the French. He comes up big when he needs to.
He does.
But I was struggling with this one because Livakovic was just in the back of my head there. Like, he had a wonderful, wonderful tournament, and so did Bono. But I think at the end of the day, Emi just showed up when he needed to, and he made those big saves, and that's what you need your keeper to do.
Yeah, James, this wasn't a unanimous pick. You went with the Croatian keeper.
Yeah, Livakovic, I had him because he was just sensational in this entire World Cup. Massive saves from the spot in open play. He was great present in the box there as well. Wonderful performance. Although, I mean, I haven't got much argument against Emi. I mean, his appalling behaviour in the final, I love. It was brilliant, you know, be it during the shootout itself, or during the actual, Golden Glove presentation. It was superb, right? So I got no arguments about Emi getting this award from us. But personally, I would have given it to Livakovic.
No, I'm with you. And what do you think about that, Mike? How Emi Martinez acts during penalty shootouts? He's obviously doing it to his advantage, and it's worked. It worked in the Copa America, and now it's worked in the World Cup. Some people are against it. They said you shouldn't have a player acting that way, especially, going after a ref. And then getting carded in penalty shootout. But he's getting into the heads of these players.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of different mind games from goalies over the years. I mean, Martinez is a little bit more abrasive with his. And
the dance.
And the dance, the shimmy, all the celebrations after, carrying around Kylian Mbappe, apparently. I don't know how I feel about that. But I got to give some love to Moroccan goalkeeper Bono.
Yeah.
It's tough when you don't win this competition, or you're at least in the final to win the Golden Glove. But I thought his path and his journey in Morocco's overall to get to the point where they did, obviously they finished 4th place, but beating, first of all, you got to look at their group, right? Canada, Croatia, Belgium. Morocco was fantastic there. I know he was injured for a little bit of that, and then you get to the group stage and it's Spain and they're beating Portugal and he's keeping clean sheets throughout this. Like, you got to give some love to him, and I thought he was probably deserving of the Golden Glove.
He was the anchor of one of the best defenses, if not the best defense at the World Cup. 3 clean sheets, which is tops. Wojtek Szczesny.
Yes.
He deserves a shout, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you save a penalty that's taken by Lionel Messi. You deserve some credit.
He was brilliant in the group phase.
He was the best in the
He
group
was the
phase.
best in the group
Poland
phase.
just needed a little bit more going forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I think you can't give it to a guy in the round of 16, right? You got to give it to a goalkeeper who's been there a bit longer.
Yeah, what's the
That's
rule
why.
with that? I was struggling. I'm like, how far back can I go with a player?
Yeah, some guy has like 3 clean sheets in the knockout phase and makes 47 saves. Surely then, you might give him some votes, right? But he didn't quite do that, but he was sensational.
Okay, Emi Martinez is our keeper. Let's go to defenders. Let's start at right back, Achraf Hakimi, Mikey. For me, there was no question that this spot was his.
Yeah, he was the best right back, in my opinion, at this World Cup. Obviously, he came in with high expectations, knowing he plays for PSG, and when you look at the Morocco squad, he's going to be arguably their most prominent player alongside a guy like Hakim Ziyech. And, he was tasked with a lot of defensive work, like everybody on Morocco was. And especially defensively, I thought he really held his own. And then there were flashes of him going forward where you can see that quality linking up with Ziyech. And I could say that Morocco's right side of the pitch with him and Ziyech were arguably one of the best right sides at this World Cup, and he was an integral part of that.
Yeah, I think he proved at this World Cup that he's not just an attacking fullback. He can do it all. He has every attribute. You didn't agree with us, Sri. You're going with Jules Koundé. Why?
I think Jules Koundé got a lot of negative kind of response after the game against Argentina, because you were kind of saying he might have been sick. He didn't play well, but that's also because Ousmane Dembele left him out to dry on that flank. But Koundé against England Phil Foden didn't have a notion what was going on because Koundé shut him down completely. Against every other side, Koundé was critical for this defense, and he was able to completely shut down anyone coming into that right flank. And for me, I just thought he was more important for France than Hakimi was for Morocco, and that's the only edge I gave him, because there were so many Moroccan players that I actually thought were more important to that side than Hakimi. But Koundé, besides that last game, was actually really good.
Yeah,
I think it's crazy.
That's
A little
fine.
bit. And it's fine. Listen, you generally hit it the nail on the head. I can't agree with this one. Koundé over Hakimi. Hakimi was just dominant, I thought. And he danced with his mom on the pitch.
Oh,
I didn't see
that's
Koundé
why.
He gets in just 'cause of that.
Surely.
And listen, in that final, I know you're right, Dembele did hang him out to dry, but he was still poor.
But I wonder if maybe Koundé wasn't sick, or Dembele, or whatever the reason, and had a game. Would you guys maybe be saying something else? Maybe, I don't know. It didn't happen. It's theoretical. We can't say it now, but I'm curious.
Okay, quickly, honorable mention goes to Mazraoui. James went with him, and Juranovic. Let's go to the center backs. Joško Gvardiol, unanimous. I don't think we need to talk about him much. We have one of the best, if not the best, center back at this tournament. Romain Saiz, James.
Yeah.
When you think about Morocco, we keep mentioning one of the best defenses. One of these center backs has to get in.
Absolutely. Yeah, Aguerd was brilliant too, but then got hurt, of course. Saiz played most of the minutes, too many minutes in the end. He was bound that hamstring, and he was a warrior. He probably should have told his coach, I can't go in that last match, but he didn't. So you might lose some points there, but he was just a warrior. Blocks, tackles, he was absolutely superb, and you had to get some Moroccans in that back four, I think, for this 11, because there was no better back four in the World Cup than Morocco's. So he was brilliant in this match.
On the
this,
pitch for
tournament.
just 2 of Morocco's 5 goals, by the way. I know he was injured, but when he was out there, they weren't conceding. Otamendi, a guy that I thought about as well, but I think it all came down to him giving away a penalty in the final. I'm like, I can't put him in here, Mikey.
Yeah, that's fair, and I have no issue with Saiz getting into this 11. That being said, I got to give some love to Otamendi because he was such a big concern. I wouldn't even know if he was going to start every game for Argentina heading into this World Cup. He was such a big concern for me when you think about where he is in his career. Now being asked to honestly be a leader for this Argentinian team in their back line. And I thought every game in, game out, he made some Otamendi-like tackles, some very important tackles that really set the tone for this Argentinian side. And he really grew as I think this tournament went on. So I got to give some love to Otamendi. I threw him in my best 11.
Sarah, you want to show some love to another veteran center back.
Yeah, I was in between Otamendi and Varane, and it had to be Varane. I mean, again, against England, him and Konate, they were incredible. Like, he played every single game for France besides that Tunisian game, and he was a force. He was incredible, and I think one of the reasons I took him over Saiz as well is because Saiz was injured for half the games he was playing. I love the mentality. It's warrior mentality, but Varane was 100% fit, and nothing was getting past him.
What about Suter from Australia, right? No one's talking
Forgot
about him,
about him,
but he was great in this World Cup,
Yeah.
right? I mean, just get one Socceroo in there.
Just
At
one.
least some mention, at least, right? Because
Yeah.
I thought he was brilliant.
Theo Hernandez, we didn't touch on him, but he
Do
was...
we have to? Okay, how do we get Theo Hernandez in?
How do
many
you
James?
not take him? You took Mazraoui, who
Yeah.
was exhausted during Spain, didn't play against Portugal, Morocco's best game, and then came off during France. How are you taking this player?
This
it doesn't
guy was
make
a
any sense.
liability against England
Oh
and
my
in the final
God.
as well.
You have to play the games. Theo Hernandez not only defended, he
it's
scored a
just
goal.
participation
He
award. Well done, you played more
Oh,
minutes.
jeez, James.
I
no,
tell you, I'm
you're
not having that. You know what? I'll give you Kunde.
No, I'll give you
I am
Hakimi,
not
but
giving you
the
Theo
three of
Hernandez.
us took Hernandez. You're joking.
I'm surprised. I am. I gotta
This
say.
is what happens when you try to put together a World Cup 11. I was saying Perisic. Mikey gave me the sideways eye. What are you talking about? All right, that's it for the first block. Coming up, time to look at the midfield and maybe one surprise in there. Welcome back to the show. James Sharman, Sarah Pereira, Mikey Singh, Albert Vartain. As you just saw, we put together our goalkeeper and defenders, our back four with the keeper looking pretty good. A couple of disagreements here, but that's fine. We're going to have some
Still
more.
stunned.
Let's go into the midfield. James, I'm going to start with you. Anton Griezmann, 3 assists, most chances created. I can't imagine a World Cup 11 without him in it.
Yeah, and we should mention it again. This is a very fluid 4-4-2, right? You know, Griezmann, of course, in a 4-3-3 fits way better than where he is right now, out on that right-hand side, right? But yeah, he was brilliant. You know, he was a playmaker, the most dangerous playmaker at the World Cup, in fact. And for a player that's generally speaking a guy that plays up top, for his career. He's been reinvented by Didier Deschamps in this role and was just brilliant. I understand he wasn't great in the final. He got yanked in that second half. Maybe the gas finally ran out the tank there. But I don't know how you don't get him in the World Cup 11 this time around.
Jude Bellingham.
Yeah,
Mikey.
Jude Bellingham for me was one of the best midfielders in this tournament, and he's going to be a future star, as we all know. But to do what he did at 19 years old and really boss the middle of the park, especially just from such a two-way game. Like defensively, he was so fantastic. We know how good he is at pressing and winning balls back, but also he showed some quality moving forward. And I think if you're picking a team from this World Cup, I think Jude Bellingham is 100% in your midfield.
Sarah, Jude Bellingham didn't make it into your 11. Mine either, but why?
It was tough. I was on the fence with him, but when I picked I originally did a 4-3-3 as well. So when I picked my three, I had to go for Griezmann and then Amrabat, which I'm sure we'll get to. But then when I was thinking, okay, Modric, Bellingham, Modric, to me, we have to give this guy the credit that he deserves. He was so critical for Croatia. I know he started off a bit slow, Mikey, you were mentioning that, but I'll never forget that game against Argentina. They were down 3-0, but this guy at his age, 37, running up and down this pitch, controlling the game as much as he can, playing on the right, playing on the left, playing in the back. At his age, he was so important for that team, and I think it was just...
Yeah.
The Brazil game, he was brilliant.
He was
Yeah,
good,
that too.
He's not the guy who gets on the score sheet as much, but he does everything else. He
Yeah.
reminds me of David Silva for Manchester City. He always had the hockey assist when he played, but he was the one pulling the strings, doing everything. I left out Bellingham as well. It was very difficult. It really was. I thought about Modric. I decided to go with Kovacic instead, actually. And I was looking at some of his numbers. 90% pass completion, 9 chances created, the most tackles with Hakimi, which you wouldn't think from Kovacic, but he covered the
Hakimi?
entire pitch.
Hakimi.
Yes.
I mean the right back.
Yes.
He didn't make some people's 11.
Oh.
Okay.
Are we back to this? Do we want to do that again?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm
let's
confident.
move on. Let's talk about someone we all agree on, unanimous. My opinion, the best midfielder at this tournament, without question, James, Sofiane Amrabat.
Oh, the energy. I mean, another Moroccan, right, gets in there. He was to me, he was the face of the Moroccan team. Listen, Onani was really good as well, don't get me wrong,
Yes.
but for every single match, he put in a full shift, and he's being linked with some big clubs right now. He's a leader. No one thought he'd be a star at this World Cup, but he was a superstar at this World Cup, leading from the front, and you know, the challenges, the tackles, the link-up play. He's got that little attacking nuance to his game as well. Brilliant player.
We have Kylian Mbappe in our midfield, but like James said, it's very fluid. He can
Yeah,
play.
yeah.
We'll let him play wherever he wants. But Mikey, what's there left to say about this guy? Hat-trick in the final, 8 goals, golden boot.
Yeah, if you don't have him in your best 11, you're doing something wrong. He wasn't the best player at this tournament, but he was definitely the second best player in the tournament. He proved that obviously in the final when he capped off an incredible tournament with a hat-trick, putting France on his back. And like you said, what's there left to say? Now I'm just interested to see what happens when he goes back to PSG. And
He's
that's the
already
lineup.
there, eh? He showed up to training. 4 days later, after his birthday, he's in training. He's
Well,
pissed.
I was
He's
just about
ready
to
win.
mention his commitment, and apparently it's there.
He's there, of course he's there. Sarah, I want to do a quick mention to Rodrigo de Paul. You know, we talked about him throughout this tournament. He wasn't very good to start, but he grew into the game. And similar to Modric in terms of not getting on the score sheet, but he does a lot of the dirty work.
Right. That was like kind of Argentina's story, though, right? After that
Protect
loss.
Messi at all costs.
Oh, I love that narrative. The photos they have, it's just so funny. But no, they started off as a team really poor. Rodrigo de Paul became one of those really critical and crucial players for Argentina in the middle. He looked really tired at times. I wasn't sure if he was going to play every game, but he kept playing. Scaloni knew what he was doing, and he was making really important tackles. He really held that middle extremely well.
Jordan Henderson, honorable mention.
Oh, get out of here.
Yes,
I know.
absolutely.
No, seriously.
No, the general, right? And
Yes.
I know Mikey's been against poor old Jordan for a long time here. But yeah, I mean, he really allowed Jude Bellingham to do his stuff as well, right? With Declan Rice sitting deeper. So I think that midfield three worked really well for England. What about Alexis McAllister?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Brighton
please.
zone. He was tremendous,
Yeah,
right? And
incredible.
another player who
Fantastic.
played a role where he was defensive, but at the same time he was involved in so much that happened. An assist in the final, correct?
Is he the one
It was
guy?
a
though-
counterattack.
Yeah, is he the one guy that you can pinpoint from this World Cup that no one thought would be a star at the World Cup, but became a star at the World Cup?
Yeah, I would
it was
think
his
so.
coming out party.
He's up there.
wasn't it?
Amrabat.
Him and
even
Amrabat.
I'd say
Yeah,
Amrabat
true.
a bit more because McAllister was still pretty good in the Copa America.
Who's worth more? They're both going
Yeah.
to move at some point to another club.
I'd say McAllister because he's younger.
Yeah, how old is he?
I don't
That's
know, but
difficult.
I think he's
How-
23.
You know what it
23,
is?
26 for Amrabat, right?
Yeah.
Is he only
Yeah,
27?
yeah, I know, he looks so
looks
much
like
older.
45.
You know what it is? Amrabat fills that N'Golo Kante role.
Yeah.
And how many of those players are out there? There's a lot of attacking midfielders. I mean, McAllister's been good, but when McAllister,
McAllister.
it's McAllister.
Two
Yeah.
words.
Amrabat, I just don't think there's many of him out there in world football at the moment.
No, that's a very good point. You're leaving out who I added in my midfield, and I have to give him some love.
You got to
'cause
say
we've
it with
been giving
a
him-
nice accent. Though.
It's Bruno Fernandes.
No,
Bruno
Bruno
Fernandes.
Fernandes.
nice.
It's Bruno Fernandes. You got to give him some love. I
Yes.
mean, this guy was one of the best players at this tournament overall, let alone midfielders. And if Portugal hadn't bowed out a little bit early, then he'd be in the conversation, in my opinion, for a golden ball.
Of course, they bowed out, though, because he went missing in that last match.
Jose Mourinho over here.
Okay, he definitely didn't go missing, but he did not have a good match.
I mean, you could look at that Portuguese 11 and name maybe 10 of them who went missing. Bernardo Silva being one of them. Let's not get. Why are you bringing this up?
You get pulled in there.
What are you doing?
That's funny.
He did hit the
Contact.
crossbar though in that
did.
game with
He did.
what they call a cross come shot. Anybody else we want to mention? Shoo-ins, James?
Yeah, sure. Many was a guy. Again,
Grew
all of
into
these
it?
players grew into the tournament, right? They weren't great at first. What about Angel Di Maria?
Hey.
I criticized him all World Cup. He was great in the final.
If he
and there's no
had
doubt.
played more,
That's
I
it,
thought
yeah.
about actually putting him in there just because of when he played. He was so important, but because he didn't play as much. But if he was fit and did play, I think
Yeah.
he would have gotten
Yeah.
himself in there, no
Yeah,
problem.
I also want to throw in Hakeem Ziyech would probably work into a 4-4-2. Unahi.
The midfield kind of won this, aside from Messi and
Yeah.
Mbappe, right?
Yeah.
The midfield has kind of won this World Cup. I mean, there was
lot
some
of good
solid
midfielders.
midfields.
All right, well, that's our midfield. Anton Griezmann, Jude Bellingham, Sofiane Amrabat, Kylian Mbappe, probably the best midfield in world football. Okay, coming up after the break, forwards, Lionel Messi and you'll have to find out. Welcome back to the show. Albert Vartanian here with you. Mikey Singh, Sarah Pariah, James Sharman. We've been going through our World Cup 11. We've made it to the forwards. And one guy gets in. I think everybody's in the world, unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo. Lionel Messi.
Did these guys pick Messi? I thought they might put Mwani in there. Or something.
Oh, maybe Sarah.
Me?
Hey, Colomwani had a
Put
great.
Theo in there as well.
Colo
Then
Muani had a
that's
great-
Rawi.
Hold on.
I can't.
Wait. I will not take the Colomwani disrespect. He was fantastic when he came on. I
He
thought
was good, but he's not Leo Messi.
He's not Leo Messi. Sarah, go ahead. What else do you say? What else
There
do you say?
isn't anything else to say. Greatest player of all time. No wonder he's in your best 11. Again, we know what Messi did this tournament. He carried a team. He picked them up. He scored the goals. He made the assists. I said, what else can we say, James?
And luckily, we've got some runners in this team though as well.
Right.
Because Messi didn't run that much. So if we look, let's do something different here. Let's look at the negative side of Messi. What doesn't he bring to the table?
Well,
right?
lazy guy. Doesn't
He's lazy.
press,
He walks more than
doesn't
anyone
track
else.
back.
Doesn't track back. Yeah.
Doesn't track back. Yeah. There's some real
Really
glaring
one-footed,
holes.
one-footed player too.
One-footed player. Yeah. Always
One-footed
cuts to that
player.
left, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I would look to the number of goals he has with his right foot. It's got to be pretty high,
Yeah.
It would
Probably,
think-
it probably is.
right?
easy
I
to
remember
tap
him
in
scoring
goals.
one header where he leaped out of his socks. You guys remember that? It was from Barcelona.
Manchester
yeah.
United.
It was United,
Yeah,
that's right.
Champions League. I remember that
Yeah.
very well.
How many headed goals do you think Leo Messi has in his career?
4 or 5.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do a check. I'm going to say it's 4 or 5. Okay, right next to him, where the tough decision was to be made. I can't even speak properly here. It was either, in my opinion, Julian Alvarez or Olivier Giroud. I decided to go with Alvarez, and a few of us did as well, Sarah.
Yeah, no, I think for me, Giroud's a great shout, and he had a great tournament. But Alvarez, at the age of 22, stepping into Lautaro Martinez's position after he bottled it, you're a top scorer.
This is a big shoes to fill, by the way.
That's what I mean, though, at such a young age, and then to go on and play every single game, start every single game, score 4 goals doing it. Alvarez was the guy.
He was almost the conscience too, right, for Messi, because when Messi wouldn't run, Alvarez would run. I saw someone write about him saying he is the soul of a midfielder because he is all over the pitch. And we discussed before about what he'll become at Man City, Pep will find a way to get him in the starting 11. He'll either redefine what he does or his formation. He's got to find a way because he's that good. I mean, I was so impressed for what I saw
Alvarez,
this
all
World Cup.
4 of his goals, by the way, coming in the knockouts on just 11 shots, Mikey. I think that was the deciding factor for me between him and Giroud, is how impactful and efficient he was.
Yeah, and he really was the spark that Argentina needed up top in this tournament. Obviously, Lautaro Martinez didn't live up to expectations. And when you look at that bench, there wasn't too many faces behind them who could really step in and slot in at the number 9. So Argentina desperately needed a guy like Julian Alvarez to step up and slot away some of these chances that Lionel Messi created. And because of his legs, he created a couple of chances for himself as well. And specifically, there was one play, I forget who it was against, but the goalkeeper gave it away to Alvarez, and Alvarez finished the goal. So he created moments on his own just by pressing and doing a lot of these different things. So yeah, you got to give some love to him for sure.
Yeah, James, speaking of efficient, Olivier Giroud, 6 shots on targets, 4 goals. Can't dismiss him.
This guy, I mean, he might go down as the most underrated player of all time. Maybe that's a stretch, but but he's really good at Chelsea, at Arsenal. He scores goals. He's gone back to the continent. He's scored goals, and he'll do the ugly work for you. Yeah, he's brilliant. And France needed goals, right? With Karim Benzema sidelined for this World Cup, they had to have someone to step up beyond just Mbappe. And he was a perfect foil for Mbappe. And I know he got yanked before the half in the final, which was a real shame because he had a really good World Cup. So, yeah, he should have got some votes. He did get some votes, but I don't see how he gets in there above Alvarez.
Yeah, and he could have gone out sulking. He was still on the sideline cheering on his team. He even got carded in the World Cup final. I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. Another player wouldn't probably feel that way. Let's give a couple more shout-outs. James, Harry Kane, 2 goals, 3 assists. He wasn't the prolific striker that we know, but he did everything else.
Yeah, he plays so deep, right, for his club, and now more and more with England as well. And I thought he played superbly. Now, you want someone up top to be prolific, I think, in the England team. He couldn't quite do that this time around, but you couldn't criticise Harry Kane's effort. I know the penalty he'll be fined for, which is not fair. But yeah, definitely worth a vote or 2.
Quickly on Rashford and Bukayo Saka.
Yeah, specifically Marcus Rashford, I thought he had a really fantastic tournament. When you look at goals per 90 and chances created per 90, it's actually not Gonzalo Ramos who had the most goals per 90. It's Marcus Rashford, right? In limited opportunity, when he did come onto the pitch, he made a difference. And I think I'll remember that free kick that he scored. Absolutely fantastic goal. And Bukayo Saka as well. This is a guy very young, still trying to find his footing, I think, overall when it comes to being recognized on the world stage. But this tournament did a lot for him in that fact. Me personally, I gained a lot of respect for him this tournament because he's going to be a really, really good player.
Sarah, disappointing tournament for Brazil. But Richarlison was probably, him and Neymar, I would say, 2 shining lights for Brazil.
Because James loves to dance so much.
How'd that work out for him, by the way?
Oh, how'd it work out for England?
Oh, here we go again.
Listen, Richarlison had one bad game, but he was spectacular for the rest of the games. He scored that beautiful bicycle goal, which I think is probably still the goal.
I think so, yeah.
It has to be.
It's the athleticism you need for that. But shouts to him. Shouts to Neymar, too, because Neymar, when he played, though, was fantastic.
Okay, well, we're running out of time. We're talking too much about Brazil and South America and hating each other. Our 4-4-2-11, here it is. Emi Martinez, Hakimi, Roman Saiz, Guardiola, Theo Hernandez, Antoine Griezmann, Jude Bellingham, Sofiane Amrabat, Kylian Mbappe, Lionel Messi, and Julian Alvarez.
It's pretty decent, isn't it?
They win the World Cup. Yeah. At least maybe the Premier League.
Although you could do a second,
MLS
you could do a second 11, be pretty good as well.
Oh, it'd be pretty good.
What's that?
A second 11 would be pretty good as well.
We might have to do a worst 11, group stage 11.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Group stage 11 is fun.
North America, Canadian 11. Would any of those
MLS
Canadian
11?
shows.
MLS 11?
Yeah,
we can do it
why
all.
not?
All right, that's it for the show today. Thanks so much for watching. More coming up in the coming days, so stay tuned to Room 442.